Hello everybody, welcome to a newer type of video we're doing. I will be doing a seal build with the newest One Piece set, OP-08 to Legends. If you're new to our channel, I have never done this before, so bear with me as this will be my first time kind of going through the process of building a seal pool. So I'm going to open each pack and I'm going to go walk through kind of my process with it and kind of how we do. So in One Piece, especially for sealed, you have no color restriction and you can use any leader um, that you have access to, with the exception, I believe, of the sealed battle Luffy. So some of the strong leaders to take into consideration would be Starter Deck Kid, the Green Kid, Bonnie, Katakuri, Yamato, and in this set specifically, Marco. I believe Marco's a fantastic leader. If you have the cards for it, Pudding is possibly in consideration. As well as OP-01 Zoro will forever be a very strong leader. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll kind of go through my process with the first pack, and then we'll kind of go through it with the rest of them here. So I pull all the 2Ks, all of our blockers, and then I'll separate the rares and above. So blocker, 2K, and then we'll move on to the next pack. I'll kind of go over the decision points as we're going. So the set, I believe, only has 7 blockers. So you kind of want to play as many of them as you can, just because there's not a lot of blocking power. Unfortunately, this is my second video I made. The first one I recorded, um, some mistakes and something went wrong in the video, so I had to kind of redo it, but it's all right. We'll get to open some more packs. Oh, did I skip over blocker? No, just imagining things. Oh, no. Marco leader, consideration, and then our rares. So if you open a lot of super rares, awesome, you got lucky. Otherwise, you kind of just work with what you got. Just looking for 2Ks and blockers. I'll consider the rares afterwards. Big man Don. All right, last pack, and then we'll start going through the rest. On average, I would say the first kind of 25 to 30 cards are pretty easy inclusions. It's the last 10 that you're just kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for usually. Oh, nice hiking bear. Another 2K. Ooh, we hit a secret rare Lin Lin and Kaido, or Kaido and Lin Lin. Awesome. Cool. We'll go over that in a moment. So we opened 5 2Ks, which is, I think, on average, maybe a little bit less. From most of the sealed builds I've done myself in all the pre-releases, I find 4 to 6 2Ks is kind of your average. If you get more than that, you're kind of laughing because that's a lot of counter power. We have 5 blockers, which is pretty good. Considering I believe there's only 7. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is only 7, and nice little array of costs here. All right, so let's go take a peek at our rares. So I'm just gonna put these kind of all up here. Awesome. So you're always playing 2 kids, no matter what. The counter power is so strong. Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. So we open Secret Rare, Kaido and Linlin. We're basically just gonna be playing this card. Um, Just a 10 cost 12k body is quite strong. And then if you happen to be getting swarmed, like, yeah, Dawn minus 10 is a pretty hefty cost, but it does remove everything from play, or it KOs everything, and then you gain a life and your opponent trashes a life. So big, just very strong to play. So we only opened one super rare, which I think one or two is kind of average, but maybe I'm wrong. So Jozu is a really interesting card. So it returns one of your other characters to your hand to bounce a 6k or less. It being a 6 cost 7k, pretty decent effect, so definitely worth considering playing, especially to kind of maintain a decent tempo advantage, or you can reuse some other on-play effects. So we'll put that into we'll be playing pile for now. Kureha is a chopper Drum Kingdom searcher. Probably won't be playing it. I think we only have 3 Drum Kingdom, and sometimes the bottom decking is not ideal, but it is worth considering especially if we get more Drum Kingdom. Bonnie, this card is wicked. So it's a 1 Dawn commitment on it. And then on your turn, whenever a card is removed from your opponent's life, you draw 2 cards and you trash 1. Card draw is really strong. This card, if you can get it to stick on board for a couple of turns, really, really good. Next we have Walpole. I am a big fan of this card. It is a 6 cost 6k, which is not that impressive, but his while attacking ability is really strong. So with 1 Dawn attached, he gives a character minus 2k for the turn, and then he gains 2k. So he's effectively a 9k attacker, making it really easy to either attack into or shrinking one of your opponent's bodies, making it easy to attack into, or attacking your opponent for 9. I'm a big fan of this card. So we got 2 events here. So the first one is the Earth Will Not Lose. So we probably won't be playing this. Just Calgary does not feel very strong in this format for sealed. Unfortunately, we can't really even consider this. Imperial Flame. Unfortunately, another one that's probably not going to be good enough. It KOs 2 costs or less. We don't. There's not really much cost reduction, so there's not much we can do with this type of card, unfortunately. And then we have Nolan, who's just a 5 cost 6k, mainly because we're not going to be playing Calgara, and we don't have any Calgara cards currently. But we might still play him as a 5 cost 6k, especially if our vanillas are kind of bad. So still worth considering because he is a 1k counter. So if there's nothing better to pick from, then we can kind of go from there. So next, I'm just going to pull out our events. There's a few to consider, so let me just do that very quickly. You can notice I'm skipping the stages. I don't really consider many of the stages playable unless like you opened unbelievably well for the Drum Island one, and even then it still probably isn't that great. But we'll go over our choices for events here. So first one is we would never sell a comrade to an enemy. So you can rescue your characters. None of your characters can be KO'd by effects. There's not a lot of KOing effects in this set outside of Conquest of the Seas and a few other cards. Not worth resting to your characters. Just not great. Much mutation. This one's not bad. Lets you be offensive and defensive with it. So gives a character minus 3k, and then one of your characters gets plus 3k. Only downside is it doesn't hit your leader, so they're attacking face. There's not a lot you can do to buff yourself, but if you have a big blocker, it might be useful. And reducing 3k is still like pretty relevant. This one I do like a decent amount. So you can trash one card from the top of your deck. If it's 6 or more, um, one of your leaders or characters gets plus 5k for the turn, or not for the turn, for the battle. We do have a few 6 costs, and not including any vanillas we might look at in the future, especially if we're going to be using Marco as an example. Not sold on Marco currently, but his effect with this card is quite good. So definitely a reason to play Marco, especially if we had some more Whitebeard support, like if we got the Whitebeard super rare as an example. Um, Marco, I feel, is probably the best or the most playable leader and sealed from the set itself. So definitely worth considering. Um, Next is Phoenix Brand. So we can reveal 2 Whitebeard from our hand, Whitebeard Pirate cards from our hand, and it places one of your opponent's cost 6 or less to the bottom of the deck. So as of right now, we have 2 Whitebeard Pirate cards, and I believe that is it currently. But if that number does change, this card could be potentially playable, but we do need a large amount of Whitebeard Pirates to consistently use this effect. Otherwise, it's basically just a dead card in hand. So currently not worth considering, but if we have we had 12 to 14 Whitebeard Pirates, then I think we would definitely consider this card. You can't take our king this early in the game, so it's 3 costs counter. So gives your leader character plus 3k, and then you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Whitebeard Pirate 3 or less, you can play it. And then you put, like, if it's not, you just put it top or bottom. So, like, worst case, you just don't put anything in the play. Best case scenario, you get a 3 cost character. It's also worth considering. I don't like the 3 cost counters that much. 3 Dawn's a lot to hold up for an effect, but worth considering. So we got 3 Halceratops. So this one we're probably not going to be playing because we are not playing Animal Kingdoms Pirates, I don't believe. King is a consideration for the deck. So it's like Purple Kaido, but I don't think really that they're that great. So this one gives a character minus 2 cost, then the KO's a 0 cost. There's just, once again, not enough reduction to make this effect good. Alright, last 2 is Garachu. So we can rest our main characters to rest your opponent's characters. Good trigger. Other than that, card's not good. You don't want to rest your minks just to rest your opponent's characters, really. I don't think this card is good. Okay, so that's basically all of our events. We're probably gonna play 1 or 2. We'll kind of make that decision as we get closer to the end of the deck building. So at this point, we do need some characters. So I'm gonna pull up kind of our bigger bodies, so kind of our 5Ks and above. There's a few to consider in this set. So I'm just gonna pull those out very quickly. Oh, I missed a blocker. Baron Tamago, which I believe we should be playing. All right, let's pull these out very quickly. Oh, I missed an event in there. Cool. All right, so I'm just going to do a little bit of sorting here just to make my life a little easier when considering some cards. All right, good enough. All right, so we'll start with our first one here. So it's Charlotte Opera, 6 cost 6k. Trash a card from hand to KO when your opponent's characters with cost equal to or less than your life cards. So kind of a reverse Gadatsu. Still really good if you have it on your turn 3, if you're on the play, or not on the play, sorry, on the draw. Assuming you countered out one hit, you'll be KOing. If you're on a 5 cost or 5 health leader, you'll be KOing 4 costs, 3 costs on a 4 life leader. But I find opponents would usually swing once, maybe twice for 5k. Most of the time, they don't try to swing all in because it means they're not really developing their board, um, which is kind of detrimental in this sealed format. Like, you kind of want to be developing a guy every turn. You don't want to fall behind in that kind of race. So, really good effect. Definitely will be playing this. Next one will be Nekomamushi. 5 cost 6k. If your opponent has 7 or more rested cards, it gains rush. Something to consider. I'm just putting the maybe section right here. Vanilla 7 costs 9. Uh, Likely we'll be playing it. Just a nice big body. We don't have any that big bodies besides the Jozus at 7k. So definitely would be considering. So we got Viscount Hyoko. So definitely we'll be playing this just with the Tamago. So his effect is on KO Don -1, and it plays one of our Viscount Hyokos from our hand. So kind of a free. And then when this gets KO'd on your opponent's turn, it lets you play out a Count Nivatori from your deck. So they kind of just keep feeding into each other, which is quite nice. I haven't seen if we have any Count Nivatoris, but if we do, definitely worth considering. So odds are we will be playing these, but I will put them in the maybe section just for now. Because I don't want too many Don minus effects, especially if we have no way to ramp. But effects like that that replace the body tend to be quite strong, so it's definitely worth considering. Charlotte Oven, while attacking Don -1, KOs the 3 costs. Not too shabby. We might have better options. It basically KOs blockers for the most part. That's usually most of the 3 costs and below in the set. But there are bigger blockers like the 4 and 5 costs. So maybe Drake 4 costs 6k. Don 1x makes him a 6 cost. The extra cost is not that relevant. So worth considering just as a 4 cost 6k. We have Chess Marimo. So if you have kind of the full suite of dudes, Kuro Marimo and Chess in your trash, then he gets plus 2k on your turn. So it's a 5 cost 8k, which is pretty good. But you're playing kind of subpar characters to make that work. So maybe another 7 cost 9k. Probably playing this just to have more bigger bodies, just because we don't have any kind of big, crazy boss monsters outside the Kaido and Linlin. Speed Chill. So reveals the top card of your pirate, your deck. If it's a white period pirate, he gains rush, so 4 cost rush. If you're playing Marco, it does let you kind of stack your white beard on top. We don't have that many still, but 4 cost 5, not the worst. Definitely worth considering. 6 cost 8, we'll probably play this. Same with the Calgara. There was another X-Drake. Cracker. So Cracker's effect is Don -1. You can play a Biscuit Warrior from your hand. So if you have the in your hand, so it's an okay turn 4 or turn 2 play on the draw. So you go down to 3 Don, but you do get 2 5k bodies into play, which is pretty strong. So we're probably going to play him. Charlie Pearl Sparrow. So on KO, it ramps you a Don, and triggers Don -1 to play it. Not too bad. The only downside is it doesn't have any counter, but we're not too worried about that currently because we only have 2 card. Well, we only really actually have 1 card that has no counter, and that's the Kaido and Linlin. So we'll probably be playing Sparrow. Not too bad of a card. Peekums. So Peekums protects your weaker minks. So when he's in play, cost 3 or less minks can't be KO'd by effects. We're not really playing any of them. But a 4 for 6 bodies, also not bad. But we have a bunch of those to consider. And 3 costs 5k. Maria Onion Bear, worth considering as well. So they'll be in the kind of maybe pile. We'll be playing most of those, just because you're building a 40 card deck. You kind of just start once you your last 10-ish cards tend to be filler more than anything. You just don't want them to be non-counter. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through, see if there's anything relevant in the smaller bodies that might be worth considering. So like this has cost reduction, but once again, we don't have enough to really take advantage of the cost ones that we have. Some CP, buffs pudding, which probably not great or not good enough, I should say. Oh, missed a bigger body. 4 cost 6k. Probably will be playing that. So these were mostly looking for effects that might be good. And like we're never playing 1 cost 3k bodies. Like it's just unfortunately not good enough with no effects. So we won't be playing any of those. Um, so we'll probably be playing most of these kind of 4 cost 6k bodies. Um, and then the Hyoko Nekomamushi. So I'm just going to do a quick count with basically everything in our maybe pile, and we'll see how close we are to 40, kind of our magic number. Six. So we're at 36 cards. Not too shabby. So one of the things to consider now, because we have that volume of um, 6 drops, and especially if we are planning to use Marco, assuming say I don't have any of the other leaders and I gotta play with what I got, let's say we'll play Marco, then his effect with People's Dreams Don't End is actually pretty good because you get to kind of trash one of the 6 costs you might not want to play that turn to give yourself plus 5k, which is quite strong. I will need to kind of reconsider some of the events because we do have to fit in 4 more cards. Um, which may be kind of difficult just because this is always the trick of your sealed pool. It's kind of how many bigger bodies you end up with. And, stuff like this is not the worst. It's an early drop. It prevents one of your cost 3 or less from being active on the next turn, so lets you attack into it. Probably end up playing that. I don't believe we have any 3 costs Whitebeard Pirates. Oh, we do. We have these blockers. So definitely actually worth considering playing, especially if we're going to use Marco. Let's hypothetically say we're going to use Marco. This effect actually gets much better because we do have something to trigger off of it. I probably won't play both of them because unless I have to, assuming we're also playing that. I just don't want too many these effects in the deck. As of right now, we're probably just playing Nolan as a body, since we need kind of bigger bodies generally. We have an okay amount of blockers, so that added 4 cards, so that puts us at our 40 card deck. I'm just gonna go over these. Maybe I'm missing something. There's something you guys might think is much more playable than I'm considering. Um, but I don't personally think any of the smaller characters are worth playing. And most of these events, unless I'm really underestimating an effect, like the Whitebeard one, but for this to be really effective, like we need a high saturation of Whitebeard pirates, and that's just like nothing that we have. So something that I would do is I would just count So we're 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we have 6 Whitebeard pirates. We need 2 of them in hand to activate effect. That's just not a realistic ask, I don't think. Um, but with that being said, we might consider playing another one of those instead of People's Dreams Don't Ever End. But this effect's actually pretty okay, especially with Mirko. Um, it could be also really bad, so there's definitely consideration to not playing it and having something a little bit more consistent like this card. Even if you don't get the free play effect, um, getting the consistent counter is also quite good. But yeah, that is the deck. So I'm gonna go over it kind of real slowly so you guys can see my choices. So all my 2Ks I'm playing, my blockers I decided to play. We're playing all the kind of medium-sized bodies. The only smaller bodies we're playing is the Shishilin and the, how do you say it? I think so. And Bonnie. But Bonnie's such a strong effect that if we can keep her in play, we're going to. And yeah, that's kind of it. And you just hopefully can just maintain the advantage on your opponent, put bodies into play, and beat them down. But yeah, hope you guys like that. That was my first kind of ever sealed deck build I had to vocalize. Normally, all this stuff happens in my head. So hopefully, you guys were able to follow along my decision making process. But yeah, if you guys like the video, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. We still have some room in our Wednesday pre-release, so give us a call if you're interested in participating. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys.